everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I have for you guys a very exciting video in my opinion, and that is, I have to pick them up. I'm never prepared. Rereading Heroes of Olympus series as a 20-year-old. This is a follow-up to Can I Hold Them All? I don't think it's possible. This is a follow-up video. I'm gonna try. To last one. Oh no. It was almost possible. This is my follow-up video to rereading Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So now we have Heroes of Olympus. So as I said in that video, which you should definitely go watch before you watch this one, I read these as a freshman in high school, and I've only read this series once, and it was as a freshman in high school, so like 6 years ago. And I wanted to reread them because I've been really into Greek and now Roman mythology recently, and I just felt it was time as an adult to revisit this blossoming series. So as I did in that video, I'm going to go over my old ranking of these, at least how I remember it. I didn't rank them at the time. I ranked them like a few years later looking back. So I'm sticking with that one. I don't know how accurate it is. I finished this series a couple of days ago and I'm still kind of feeling empty inside. So also I would like to point out this will be spoiler filled. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have, I think, sections for the books, like in the little section YouTube place. So go as far as you need to go. So yeah, let's just do the old ranking. So from what I remember, The Blood of Olympus was my favorite book. This is the 5th and final in this series. And then from what I remember, Mark of Athena was my second favorite. This is the 3rd book in this series. Then Lost Hero, which is the first one. Kind of skeptical about that. And then House of Hades was my 4th favorite, so it's down on the list. This is the 4th book in the series. And then last but not least, Son of Neptune was my least favorite from what I remember. This is the 2nd book. Yes, I don't know what else to say. Oh, I also wanted to preface this video by saying it's still kind of embarrassing. I falsely remembered one of the main characters in the series dying in The Blood of Olympus. And so I read all 5 of these books thinking that a certain someone died in The Blood of Olympus. Yeah, so a lot of my opinions, my whole reading experience was kind of shaped by that false information. Also, I was gonna say something, I forgot what it was. It just left me. At the end, after Blood of Olympus, I'll talk about kind of overall thoughts and feelings. I will also say my reading experience was, I read these right after Percy Jackson. There was only 1 book in between. So I reread 10 books back to back in the space of 3 months, less than 3 months. And, you know, we'll talk about that later. But it did shape my reading experience. So I would caution you, maybe if you haven't read Percy Jackson or you're rereading it, either way, maybe space them out. Maybe space them out a bit more. Have some in between. Okay, so anyway, I'll go over my new ranking at the end too. So, but let's just get started because I have a lot to talk about. The Lost Hero. First book, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This one, Missing Percy. That's really the only reason it got 4 and not a 4.5. It missed, as I said in the other video, I'm a Percy stan. He's my favorite character. Top of the list. And so not having Percy really saddened me. and I missed him. That being said, I love the new characters, specifically Leo, and I really like Piper too, but I love Leo. I think he might be my third favorite character. So he kind of filled the Percy space, but not really. I really enjoyed the third person point of view that was used in all of these because I love third person more than first person, and also just the different perspectives because Percy Jackson was told all from first person and it was all told from Percy. So I thought it was really interesting, him kind of widening the scope of things. I do think because of that, all of these books were better written than the previous Percy Jackson books. Anyway, this book in particular, I thought was paced very well. We kind of spent a lot of time getting to know these new characters before they even got into their quest, which I appreciated because they are new characters, and it was startling to be introduced to 3 whole new people. I really liked the mysterious elements in at least the first 2, but specifically this one, because we don't know who they are. We don't know who Jason is. Jason doesn't know who he is himself. We don't really know what's going on with Piper. We don't really know what's going on with Leo. So that was really interesting. I really liked the dynamics between these 3 in this one and throughout the series. I really loved Jason and Leo's friendship. I also really liked Piper's character development in this one. She really kind of found out. It reminded me a lot of Percy in the first Percy Jackson book. Like, she really found out her powers and who she was throughout this, and she kind of accepted herself. One specific scene I really liked was the battle with the giants at the end, and like Kara was there and everything. So yeah, let's move on. I have a lot to talk about, so I don't want to spend an insane amount of time on either of these. So next up, Son of Neptune, second book. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars because Percy was in it. I mean, my man. I also really enjoyed, this one was a little different because it was so focused on the Roman side of camp, or the Roman camp, and I really enjoyed learning about his take on Roman mythology and like the parallels between the camps and like their difference in flag football. And they basically all have flag football, but it's a lot different, and like how they each worship the gods and how they train, and it's just very interesting. And I'm also in a Romans class right now, so it was kind of cool. Like the boat, I don't know if the boat's in this one or in Mark of Athena, but like he took the boat with Pax or Pox written on it, and that's Pax Romana, which is a piece of Rome. And like I've learned so much about that era, and so I immediately knew what it was. I'm not sure if that's in this one or the Mark of Athena, but that was really cool. It's always fun to make connections like that. I love Hazel. Hazel is one of my favorite characters. I also really love her relationship with Nico. It's really cute. Percy doing his thing. I loved when he confronted Mars, and like he didn't even know his past with Ares and or Mars then, but he still confronted him. I thought that was really funny. Very on brand. I really liked the scene where Frank became a bear and bashed and defeated the giants. It was really funny. There was a lot of funny moments in this one. I also really loved the dynamics again between the 3 of them, especially Percy's role as kind of like a mentor and this kind of big brother figure. I also really hate that throughout the rest of the series, we don't really get the 3 of them as much. Like we consistently get Piper, Jason, and Leo, but we don't really get too much of Frank or Hazel after this, and we especially don't really get a lot of them with Percy. I also really enjoyed seeing Percy through the eyes of others, because in the previous books it was all him. We didn't really get to see how others viewed him. So it was really fascinating to me to have these two very impressionable kind of teenagers looking up to him and kind of idolizing him, but realizing, you know, like he's not a perfect human being. So that was really interesting. Final thing I want to talk about was the ending of this made me genuinely so excited to read The Mark of Athena. By this point, I was getting kind of burned out. And it was just kind of like, okay, I have to keep going. But by the end of this one, I was like running around my dorm room like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to pick up The Mark of Athena. So that felt really good. Third book, The Mark of Athena. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5. This one. Okay. So I really liked the Jason and Percy rivalry. I know a lot of people are like, they get tired of it, and I just think it's funny because I'm Team Percy all the way, and I'm like, there really is any competition, but whatever. I thought it was funny, their kind of rivalry, and then they had a romance afterwards. So I also really enjoyed the Persepeth content. We get Annabeth's point of view for the first time in the series in this one, and I enjoyed her point of view and seeing her perspective on things. One thing I really didn't like was the tension between Frank and Leo. It just kind of felt like it was unnecessary, and I love them both so much. I wanted everybody to be friends, but I do understand we needed some personal conflict in the group of demigods who are all very different but also very similar. Anyway, I really liked the battle with the Shrimpzilla thing in the Argo. I thought that was really cool and funny. Let's get through all the things I liked. I really enjoyed Percy's development, and in this one he's really kind of grappling with the shifting dynamics of the group, because where before he was always kind of the leader on the quests, and now he's kind of famous, and so in the last book they kind of look to him for guidance, and so now he's kind of shifting, with especially with Jason there relying on other people and not being in control all the time. I also thought it was really interesting the role Percy and Annabeth's fatal flaws played in this one. I really wish we had gotten like someone else defining the fatal flaws of the others because I think it's really interesting, especially Annabeth's in this one. Her pride, and like she taunted the spider after trapping her, and that's kind of what shook the earth and broke it into Tartarus. And that kind of, it just reminded me of when Odysseus had defeated the Cyclops and he taunted him and like he started throwing stuff. I just thought it was kind of interesting. And it was really hinting towards Percy's role at the end. And speaking of the end, the end made me cry. I remembered the end. It was one of the few things I actually remembered about this series was Percy and Annabeth dropping in a Tartarus, and how emotionally damaging it was the first time I read it. I really enjoyed that. It was very suspenseful. It was like kind of a pivotal moment. I thought he read it really well. I really also liked how Leo and Piper got their own kind of challenges in this one, which we'll see like the other characters get theirs in other books, but like they had their own personal like obstacles to overcome, which I thought was really cool, because I feel like Leo, Piper, Hazel, and Frank are kind of like the sidekicks, or can be treated as the sidekicks, and they got to be the heroes of their own little part in the story. So I really enjoyed that. Okay, now this one. I mentioned before I was really excited at the end of Son of Neptune. That went away in the middle of this one. I should not have read all of these at once, but it gets very tedious, okay? listen, I love these books. I love the characters, but the plot is kind of all the same. You know, they go on a quest. There's side quests all along the way. They meet the monster at the end. They defeat the monster. They go on another quest. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it does get tedious when you've read it for 7, 8 books now. And so, yeah, I just thought I should mention it because it is probably my overall biggest issue with all these books. It's the tediousness of the plot. I don't know what he could have done to rectify that. I really don't, but it did detract from my reading experience. So let's move on to the House of Hades. 4.5 out of 5. This one I feel like did break up the tediousness a little bit because you had just the very interesting part of Percy and Annabeth in Tartarus. I really liked their little quest they were going on. And this one I really liked Frank having to kill the cows. That was his little obstacle. He got to be the little hero. He kind of stepped into his power. Really appreciated it. This one I really liked Percy's kind of development. So he had to kind of deal with the consequences of being a hero, and so he had all of the curses from the people he had killed or the monsters he had killed previously, and he had to kind of acknowledge that he forgot Bob and he was remiss in his friendship, and he kind of used Bob and he continued to use Bob. And so I thought that was a really interesting aspect, and I really liked when he almost killed the goddess of misery, or I forget her name. Was she called Misery or did she have a name? I don't know. But he he made her choke. I did think that was kind of a missed opportunity Rick could have taken. You know, he kind of did that and Percy never did it again with any other people, even in battle. So I liked seeing him kind of as an anti-hero, and Annabeth was afraid of him. I was proud. I was like, yes, kill her. Kill her. Vengeful king. This book, I think, had the most heartbreaking scene in the entire series, and that was when Cupid forced Nico to admit his feelings, or his old feelings, for Percy in front of Jason. I cried. I was crying. It was so heartbreaking to see Nico have to go through that, and to kind of, I did remember Nico liked Percy when I was reading these, but kind of see how it changed the past events and such. And I don't know, I feel like we've all had similar experiences, hopefully not being outed, but you know, you have a crush and you tell your friends and it gets around the entire school, and it's usually when you're very young, and it's kind of something that sticks with you, and it definitely shapes how you go into future relationships. It was very sad. I was crying. But I did appreciate the friendship between Jason and Nico, and he was kind of very understanding and loving. I also really loved Leo and Calypso's story. It like broke my heart in the first Percy Jackson series, and so I loved that we got to see her again, and Leo and her relationship was so cute. I really shipped them. And I also really I thought it was funny Leo was mad at Percy. Like, rightfully so. I mean, yeah. I also really hated that Bob sacrificed himself. It was really sad. I kept expecting him to come back in the Blood of Olympus, but he didn't. And I was crying. It was very sad. Blood of Olympus. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Okay. The fact that Percy wasn't in it really made me angry. I forgot that. I had forgotten that he and Annabeth both did not have point of views. And neither Hazel nor Frank had point of views either. And so it kind of makes me wonder why he chose to have everybody I think everyone had at least one chapter in House of Hades, or that could have been Mark of Athena, or both. I don't know. One of the books everybody was in. So I was like, why wasn't that one the last one? So because there was no Percy point of view, and he's my favorite character, it really made me angry, but also it just didn't feel satisfying to me. It didn't feel like a concluded series. After the last chapter, I was just kind of like, okay. And I know that was probably a strategic move on his part because there are other series where Percy like appears, but you know, I just think about, what was the other one? The Last Olympian had like an epilogue, and it had like a pretty definitive feeling kind of ending. And then he continued on. So I don't really understand why he couldn't have done that in this one. So I do have some beef with this. I also didn't feel as emotionally attached or impacted as I could have felt. On the other hand, I really loved Nico and Reina's point of views, especially Nico. I love Nico. And I love their friendship, and I love their side going on. I was actually like more interested in what they were doing than the other ones. Ooh, going off of that, I really like the Orion storyline, and I liked how Reina killed him. I loved the little introduction to Will and Nico. It was so cute. I was kind of geeking out. I was like, oh my gosh. I also really liked that the gods showed up and they were fighting with like their respective children. They were fighting the giants. I really liked that. I did kind of tear up when Leo told Jason and Piper he loved them. I was like, oh my gosh. That was kind of sad. Also, throughout this book, I kept expecting a certain someone to die, and it didn't happen. So that kind of might have contributed to why I didn't feel like it was concluded, because I expected this big thing to happen, and it didn't. Going off of that, I do feel like the ending was anticlimactic. I also felt this way for The Last Olympian. I don't know if it's just I don't like how he ends the series or what, but I just feel like Gia, I always read it as Gia. I'm not gonna lie. Like Pangea. Anyway, I felt like Gia's ending could have been better. I don't know. Because like on the flip side of that, I really loved how Octavian died. I thought that was great. I just didn't think it was as powerful a moment as it could have been. Throughout this entire series, I still think the most suspenseful moment was when Annabeth and Percy fell into Tartarus. My favorite scene in the entire series, though, was when Nico just straight up told Percy, like, I used to have a crush on you. And Percy was like, and he was like, I don't anymore. You're not my type. And I was laughing so hard because Percy was so confused and Annabeth was like, hell yeah. It was great. I loved that. I also really enjoyed seeing Piper and Reina at the end. I feel like they had a lot of growth. And so it kind of wrapped up. I did wonder like what happened to Hilla and Thalia and like why we didn't get to see them again. It kind of felt like a plot hole. I don't know. Overall, I just feel like the ending could have been better. I wasn't overly thrilled with it, and I do wish we could have had like a little epilogue and at least seen Leo tell everybody that he was okay, because I was kind of mad he didn't tell anybody. So my new ranking, the old ranking is very different from the new one. So my favorite is House of Hades. Yes, I know. Big surprise, right? My third favorite, I don't know if you could have picked up this ranking while I was talking about them. My second favorite was Son of Neptune, which was my old least favorite. I don't know why that was the case. And then I really liked Blood of Olympus third. I kind of went back and forth between Blood of Olympus or Mark of Athena, because like Mark of Athena had Percy, but it also got really tedious. And this one didn't have Percy, but it had Nico. So this one overall ranked third, then Mark of Athena, and then Lost Hero was last, but not least. I still really enjoyed it. I just didn't have my man in it. And so, yes, overall thoughts, I really enjoyed rereading them. Do advise breaking it up. It did get tedious. I'm glad it's over. I was very glad for it to be over. I enjoyed them. I loved Percy. I loved Hazel, Nico, Leo, Piper. Jason's point of views were tiring, and I know it's kind of an accepted fact in the fandom, and I agree wholeheartedly. But overall, I had a good time. I don't know if I would reread these again. Maybe way in the future. Like if he does like a second TV show and it's like in 10 years, then maybe. I also really enjoyed that they were older in this one, because the first one, the age threw me off, and this one was more easier to relate to. Yes, so that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. I feel like I've been talking forever. I'm so glad to be putting this series behind me and moving on to greener pastures, because I feel like I've been reading this for the past 5 years of my life. So thanks for watching, subscribing, possibly. Sending hope and love to everyone. Peace out. Goodbye in the video.